My family was Kingston Knitting Mills, which now, the shirt factory was Kingston Knitting Mills. So he's been up here since 1955. They bought our house. And he was president of Kingston Knitting Mills, which is a men's and boys knitwear. He was one of the larger employers in this whole region. The Bosse's building in Port Ewan was also our family's company, was Barclay Knitwear, Barclay.
I was a mechanic in the Army Air Force for 2 years. And I really, strangely, I enjoyed it when I did. So flying is, you had to fly from from around San Francisco to Kwajalein, actually with one stop in Hawaii. And I remember going to sleep in a double-deck bed there. And after I fell asleep for 2 hours, I then was sent to Kwajalein. Now I found that it was the North Pacific. I kept saying it was the South Pacific, but I didn't know. And I stayed there for over 2 years, or a year and a half in Kwajalein. Well, the main thing that I thought was very funny is that the war was over, and yet my group, there were four of us, we watched for enemy airplanes. There were no enemy airplanes because there was no war.
Because the war was over.
I do remember one thing. On another island, about a mile away from where we were, the natives who worked on the island where I was, would have to go back to the other island where they lived overnight. And I remember one thing, they made a braided belt for me, as a reward for me. I had the belt for many, many years, and then I gained too much weight. I enjoyed their company. It was hard for them to communicate with me, but we did it through a belt.
Any memory from Kingston Knitting Mills? Remember when the Union always tried to take over?
Oh, yeah.
And we always beat them. So share about that.
Oh, yeah, that was very, very important. They had the Union had a hearing in Albany about and they took then after all of this, we had to take a vote in the mill.
Right.
And they were beaten completely.
3 times.
So that was the end of them.
And I remember when my father would come home, and we had dinner together every night, and he would rattle off several of my friends' names, and say they are not allowed in this house anymore, because the union back then in the 60s, the union was paying high school kids $20 an hour to stand on the picket line, and my friends were doing it. They didn't know what the union was or the picket line, so they were being paid a lot of money to stand, and that was their summer job. And so my father was like, they cannot come in this house anymore. They still did.
So when did it all? So
It was in the
eventually
60s.
made you move to Cape Cod then?
Oh, well, in the 70s, they started telling, you started doing production in in Hong Kong, I think, right? You started producing overseas, and that was kind of the beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end.
Because we had a mill in Waterville, New York, too.
Well, I bought the store, the dry cleaning, with the name Isaacson. ISOK, Isaacson.
Who were your clients?
I ran that store on the vineyard for at least 2 years.
It was more than that. Your clients at the dry cleaner, like Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather. Clients.
Oh, my clients.
Yeah.
All the celebrities of the vineyard, everybody. One funny incident I'll never forget. I had to drop some stuff, some clothes off at the Cronkites, Walter Cronkite. And I dropped off the clothes, and I brought my then wife with me. And Walter was on the boat at that time. The boat was very close to where they lived. So she said, go visit. Mrs. Cronkite said, why don't you go visit Walter? She referred to him as Walter, like he was my friend. And we went to the boat, and he made drinks, cocktails for all of us. And we went down into the galley of the boat, and he asked how my then wife liked the Bloody Mary. I thought that was very, very unusual.
How did you get into flying then? How did you get interested in the planes?
Yeah, when did you start flying, in Kingston Roncliffe Airport, when you were living in Kingston?
I took you flying.
Right. We used to tell the neighborhood. We lived on Pearl Street and Noons Lane, and we would tell all the kids in the neighborhood that we were going up on the plane, and they would all come around Emerson, Pearl Street, Noons Lane, and they'd be in the corner waiting for us, and we'd fly over, and he would come down a little bit low, and everybody would be waving, and it would be very exciting for the neighborhood kids.
That was exciting.
But I think that was how he found Martha's Vineyard, because he and my mother used to fly there from the Kingston Roncliffe Airport. Back when you were a businessman in Kingston, did you were very involved politically and also though building, didn't you? You were on the Chamber of Commerce?
I was very active in a lot of everything in Kingston. The Chamber of Commerce. I started Junior Achievement.
Junior Achievement. Very involved with kids and Temple Emmanuel on Albany Avenue. We're on the board of things.
On the board.
Of what? He
The
was
hospital.
the hospital.
To Kingston?
Kingston Hospital or Benedictine?
Benedictine.
Or Benedictine, okay.
He played golf at Wiltwick, taught me how to play golf.
A lot of years. A lot of good years.
Footsie Manis.
Footsies had to move to Florida because of some political involvement. He left his house, the house, to his father-in-law, who did a lot of damage in the house. Footsie was the bookie,
Right.
not his father-in-law.
But there were like 75 telephone jacks in our basement. I don't remember that, but
How?
you know, because he was a bookie and operating out of Pearl Street, our house.
Yeah, between New York City and Albany, he had all these phones in the basement, which I didn't know about.
Not till after. So that's another piece of the puzzle.